For years, you've been told to keep it cold. Now the science says the opposite. Experts confirm that storing these 9 staple foods in the fridge, like honey, onions, and garlic, is actively breaking down the compounds that make them beneficial for your aging body. We're talking about a 50% loss of medicinal power. Stick around to learn the one fruit whose genes you are permanently deactivating when you put it on the bottom shelf. The truth about refrigeration will surprise you. But before we dive into the discussion, please share your age, country where you live, and any health issues you're experiencing that you'd like us to discuss. Write down in the comments section below so we can address them together. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and share this video to help spread these benefits to our community and others who need it. For decades, the refrigerator has been widely regarded as the ultimate food preservation tool, a symbol of modern safety and convenience. However, a growing body of food science research suggests that for specific, everyday foodstuffs, this assumption is fundamentally flawed, particularly for an aging demographic. This initial chapter investigates the subtle but profound consequences of improper cold storage on the nutritional integrity and chemical composition of food, which can inadvertently compromise the health objectives of seniors. The cold environment, typically maintained between 32 degrees Fahrenheit and 40 degrees Fahrenheit, is not a static preservation state for all organic matter. Rather, for non-tropical and starch-rich produce, it acts as a catalyst for undesirable enzymatic and non-enzymatic reactions. These reactions can accelerate the degradation of delicate nutrient structures, initiate harmful chemical conversions, and create microenvironments conducive to spoilage and pathogenic growth. While refrigeration successfully inhibits the growth of some bacteria, it concurrently encourages complex phenomena such as starch retrogradation in baked goods and cold-induced sweetening in root vegetables. For the elderly, whose nutritional needs are often heightened and whose physiological reserves may be diminished, even minor losses in nutrient bioavailability or the introduction of compromised compounds can disproportionately impact overall well-being, digestive function, and the management of chronic conditions. Understanding that the refrigerator is a selective preservation tool and not a universal solution is the critical first step in optimizing diet and mitigating hidden risks associated with common kitchen practices. The primary rationale for refrigerated storage rests on slowing down microbial activity and enzymatic degradation. Yet this low-temperature regime initiates specific biochemical processes that are detrimental to certain food matrices. These processes, far from simply maintaining freshness, accelerate the breakdown of complex molecules in ways that fundamentally alter nutritional quality. A key phenomenon is starch retrogradation, exemplified in baked goods, where the low temperature causes amorphous starch molecules to rapidly recrystallize and expel moisture. This crystallization process, which occurs significantly faster below room temperature, renders the food product firm, crumbly, and effectively stale, diminishing palatability and potentially reducing digestibility. Furthermore, in produce like potatoes, cold temperatures, particularly those below 50 degrees Fahrenheit, activate enzymes that hydrolyze starch into reducing sugars, a process known as cold-induced sweetening. This conversion not only negatively impacts flavor, but also creates precursors for the potentially harmful compound acrylamide when the potato is subsequently cooked at high heat. Similarly, for fat-rich foods like avocados, the cold environment can accelerate lipid peroxidation, an oxidative degradation process that transforms beneficial unsaturated fats into less healthy and potentially pro-inflammatory, oxidized products and free radicals. The consequence of these chemical shifts is twofold: a direct reduction in beneficial nutrients, e.g., antioxidants and vitamins, and the formation of compounds that are, at best, flavor-detracting, and, at worst, linked to cellular stress. Therefore, preserving the full spectrum of nutritional benefit requires a storage environment that respects the innate biochemical needs of the food, often meaning a climate significantly warmer than the average refrigeration temperature of 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Avocados, prized for their monounsaturated fatty acids, particularly oleic acid, and a wealth of fat-soluble vitamins and antioxidants, represent a nutritional cornerstone in many health-conscious diets. However, their cellular structure and lipid composition are acutely susceptible to damage when exposed to low temperatures, such as those found in a typical refrigerator set at approximately 40 degrees Fahrenheit. The primary concern here is the accelerated process of lipid peroxidation, an oxidative chain reaction where free radicals steal electrons from the lipids in cell membranes. The cold environment significantly encourages this degradation, transforming highly beneficial anti-inflammatory unsaturated fats into oxidized products and harmful free radicals. This transformation not only destroys the integrity of the fats, but also consumes the fruit's vital defenses. Scientific analysis indicates that refrigerated avocados can suffer a catastrophic loss of antioxidant activity, with studies suggesting that the decline in protective compounds, including vitamins E and C, can reach up to 90% within just 4 days of exposure to excessive cold. Furthermore, the enzymatic activity that governs ripening is abruptly halted and then replaced by browning enzymes, leading to irreversible textural damage that turns the creamy flesh stringy, watery, and unappetizing. To ensure that consumers benefit from the fruit's full nutritional complement, especially the fats crucial for cognitive support, storage must occur at warmer temperatures, ideally between 65 degrees Fahrenheit and 75 degrees Fahrenheit, allowing for natural enzyme-driven ripening to proceed without cold shock. Given the pronounced negative effects of refrigeration on the avocado's delicate fat and antioxidant profile, a strategic approach to non-refrigerated storage is essential for maximizing its nutritional delivery. For unripe avocados, the optimal strategy involves allowing the fruit to ripen naturally at room temperature, ideally within a range of 65 degrees Fahrenheit to 75 degrees Fahrenheit. This temperature range permits the smooth progression of softening and flavor development driven by endogenous enzymes. To accelerate this natural process when a fruit is deemed too firm, placing the avocado in a brown paper bag with a climacteric fruit like a banana or an apple is recommended. These companion fruits release ethylene gas, a natural plant hormone that significantly hastens the ripening of the avocado, often cutting the time needed in half. Once the avocado achieves the desired level of ripeness, indicated by a firm but yielding texture, it should be consumed promptly to ensure maximum benefit from its fragile nutrient compounds. If immediate consumption is not feasible, short-term refrigeration, no more than 1 or 2 days, may be employed, but it must be understood that this comes with a considerable trade-off in quality and antioxidant content. For a partially used avocado, preventing surface oxidation, browning, is the priority. This can be achieved by retaining the pit in the unused half and coating the exposed flesh with an acidic barrier, such as fresh lemon or lime juice, and storing it in an airtight container, sometimes with a piece of onion, whose sulfur compounds may help inhibit the browning enzymes without significantly affecting the flavor of the fruit itself. Tomatoes, botanically classified as fruits, possess a complex genetic blueprint that dictates the development of their characteristic aroma, sweetness, and firm texture. Recent groundbreaking research has revealed that storing tomatoes in temperatures typically found within a household refrigerator, often around 40 degrees Fahrenheit, triggers a profound and irreversible disruption at the cellular and genetic level. Specifically, exposure to temperatures below 54 degrees Fahrenheit has been shown to rapidly and permanently deactivate hundreds of genes responsible for producing the volatile organic compounds, VOCs, that constitute the tomato's quintessential flavor profile. This genetic shutdown means that even if the refrigerated tomato is subsequently removed and allowed to warm back up to room temperature, its capacity to regenerate these crucial flavor compounds remains severely impaired. The sensory result is the widely reported mealy or cardboard taste of a refrigerated tomato. Furthermore, the freezing of water within the cell walls, even at temperatures slightly above the conventional freezing point, leads to the formation of microscopic ice crystals. These crystals pierce the delicate cell membranes, causing the tissue to collapse.
This cellular destruction is the direct cause of the grainy, soft, and unappealing texture that distinguishes a cold-stored tomato from one ripened and maintained at a temperature range suitable for its tropical origins.
Beyond the loss of desirable flavor and texture, the refrigeration of tomatoes poses a significant nutritional compromise, specifically concerning the highly beneficial antioxidant lycopene. Lycopene is a potent carotenoid, largely responsible for the tomato's red color, and is extensively studied for its protective effects against cardiovascular disease and certain cancers. However, the integrity and bioavailability of lycopene are acutely vulnerable to cold storage conditions. Scientific investigations demonstrate that temperatures below 54 degrees Fahrenheit can cause a reduction in the detectable level of lycopene by up to 65%. More critically, the cold environment is believed to destroy or denature the specific enzymes within the tomato matrix that are necessary to fully process and render the remaining lycopene absorbable by the human body. This means that even the residual percentage of the compound that remains after chilling may be structurally compromised, making it less effective once consumed. To maximize the intake of this crucial, age-fighting antioxidant, the tomato must be stored at ambient temperatures, ideally between 55 degrees Fahrenheit and 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Furthermore, a practical storage technique involves placing the tomato's stem side down, a practice that utilizes the natural stem scar to minimize moisture loss and block the entry point for bacteria, thereby promoting a longer, more nutrient-rich shelf life outside of the detrimental cold. Onions, characterized by low moisture content and protective papery outer layers, are fundamentally designed for long-term storage in cool, dry, and well-ventilated environments. Introducing them to the typical refrigerator, where the humidity level is often maintained at an exceptionally high percentage, frequently exceeding 90%, creates a disastrous clash with their intrinsic storage requirements, which ideally require relative humidity below 70%. This excess moisture is absorbed by the onion's layers, creating a prime breeding ground for surface molds, including species that can produce aflatoxins, which are recognized as potent carcinogenic substances. Beyond the mold risk, the cold temperatures, usually around 40 degrees Fahrenheit, initiate a rapid starch-to-sugar conversion. Studies have indicated that whole onions can exhibit an increase in sugar content surpassing 250% within just a couple of weeks under refrigeration. This radical change compromises the onion's flavor balance, rendering it excessively sweet and undermining its utility in savory cooking, where a sharp, pungent profile is typically desired. Furthermore, the structural damage caused by the cold makes the onion soft and mushy, hindering the desired caramelization process essential for many culinary applications. Optimal storage necessitates a temperature range of 45 degrees Fahrenheit to 55 degrees Fahrenheit and ample air circulation, emphasizing dryness over artificial cold. Bananas are the quintessential tropical fruit, and as such their physiology is entirely unadapted to cold storage. Their exposure to temperatures below approximately 56 degrees Fahrenheit results in a phenomenon known as chilling injury. This biological distress occurs because the fruit cell membranes, which are crucial for maintaining cellular integrity and regulating biochemical processes, are severely disrupted by the cold. This membrane damage causes a leakage of enzymes and compounds, rapidly accelerating the breakdown of chlorophyll, which manifests visibly as the characteristic and undesirable blackening of the skin. This blackening is not merely cosmetic, it signifies internal cellular rupture. Functionally, refrigeration severely inhibits the necessary enzyme activity that continues to synthesize beneficial nutrients post-harvest. Crucially, studies have demonstrated that storing bananas in cold environments can lead to a drastic reduction in their vitamin C content, with losses potentially reaching 80% within a short 5-day period, thus compromising one of the fruit's key nutritional contributions. To ensure both maximum palatability and nutritional yield, bananas must be stored at ambient room temperature, ideally between 56 degrees Fahrenheit and 70 degrees Fahrenheit, allowing for controlled and healthy ripening driven by the production and circulation of ethylene gas. Garlic, valued both as a foundational flavoring agent and for its purported health benefits, derives its potent characteristics from sulfur-containing compounds, primarily allicin. This compound is renowned for its antibacterial, antiviral, and cardioprotective properties, making garlic a valuable addition to the diet, especially for supporting senior health. However, storing whole garlic heads or cloves in the cold, humid environment of a typical refrigerator, usually around 40 degrees Fahrenheit, creates conditions highly conducive to premature sprouting and internal decay. The combination of moisture and cold triggers the garlic's innate desire to sprout, which is merely an unsightly nuisance, but also diverts the bulb's energy, leading to bitterness and a reduction in quality. More significantly, the cold actively degrades allicin. Research demonstrates that the potency of garlic, measured by its allicin content, can diminish by as much as 50% within 10 days of refrigeration. This considerable loss effectively halves the medicinal and flavorful power of the ingredient. Furthermore, the moist cold can promote the growth of surface molds. For optimal flavor release, maximum allicin preservation, and prevention of mold formation, garlic should be stored in a cool, dry place with excellent air circulation, such as a mesh bag or an open basket, where temperatures hover around 60 degrees Fahrenheit to 65 degrees Fahrenheit. Coffee, whether stored as whole beans or ground, possesses a highly porous structure and a high lipid content, rendering it acutely sensitive to environmental factors. Introducing coffee to the refrigerated environment, typically set around 40 degrees Fahrenheit, initiates two major processes that severely compromise its quality and flavor profile. Firstly, the beans act like a molecular sponge, rapidly absorbing the volatile organic compounds, VOCs, that comprise the myriad of odors emanating from surrounding foods, such as cheeses, spices, and leftovers. This absorption fundamentally taints the coffee's intrinsic flavor, resulting in a brew that tastes off or vaguely reminiscent of the refrigerator contents. Secondly, and more detrimental to its quality, is the constant temperature fluctuation inherent to the refrigerator environment, caused by frequent door opening. This fluctuation encourages condensation on the surface of the beans. Moisture is the principal antagonist to coffee freshness, as it triggers premature oxidation and the breakdown of delicate aromatic compounds. Research from specialty coffee institutions indicates that refrigerated coffee beans can lose up to 60% of their crucial aromatic volatile compounds in as little as 1 week. Furthermore, the essential oils within the beans, which carry the majority of the flavor, solidify in the cold, leading to poor extraction during the brewing process. For the preservation of optimal freshness and flavor, coffee should be stored in an opaque, airtight container at stable room temperature, preferably between 60 degrees Fahrenheit and 70 degrees Fahrenheit, shielding it from light, oxygen, and ambient humidity. Honey is an extraordinary substance in the realm of food preservation, possessing a unique chemical composition, low water activity, and high sugar concentration that effectively grants it an indefinite shelf life under appropriate conditions. Historical findings, such as 3,000-year-old edible honey, attest to its natural durability. Despite this, placing honey in the cold environment of a refrigerator, typically around 40 degrees Fahrenheit, initiates a rapid and counterproductive physical change: accelerated crystallization. Crystallization occurs when glucose precipitates out of the supersaturated solution. While this process is natural, the speed at which it happens is significantly increased by temperatures below 50 degrees Fahrenheit. This swift physical change alters the smooth, liquid texture into a grainy, hardened mass, making it cumbersome to use and difficult to dissolve, thereby severely reducing its palatability and convenience. More critically, the introduction of cold storage may negatively impact honey's renowned health properties. Studies suggest that when stored at temperatures below 50 degrees Fahrenheit, honey can experience a measurable reduction, up to 35%, in its natural antimicrobial and enzymatic activity. These compounds are integral to honey's traditional use as a wound treatment and immune supporter. To maintain its perfect viscosity and preserve its biological activity, honey should be stored in a tightly sealed container at stable room temperature, with an ideal range falling between 64 degrees Fahrenheit and 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Bread, a staple in nearly every household, is paradoxically ruined by the common practice of refrigeration. The belief that cold storage extends the freshness of bread is counterintuitive to established food science principles. The primary cause of staling in bread is not moisture loss, as often believed, but a biochemical process known as starch retrogradation. Fresh bread's starch molecules exist in an amorphous, gel-like state. However, when the temperature drops, these molecules rapidly begin to crystallize and revert to a more ordered, rigid structure. Crucially, the temperature range between 32 degrees Fahrenheit and 40 degrees Fahrenheit, the typical range of a refrigerator, is the most conducive environment for this retrogradation to occur. Research from food technologists has conclusively shown that bread stored in the refrigerator stales up to 6 times faster than bread kept at ambient room temperature. The immediate result is a hard, crumbly texture and diminished flavor profile, significantly reducing the bread's quality and acceptability. To effectively manage bread storage, particularly for seniors who may purchase larger loaves, the best approach is to store fresh bread at room temperature in a bread box or paper bag, allowing for slight air circulation. For long-term preservation, rapid freezing is far superior to refrigeration, as the speed of freezing prevents the formation of large ice crystals and inhibits the retrogradation process, effectively pausing the staling mechanism. Potatoes, root vegetables rich in starch, are acutely susceptible to negative biochemical alterations when exposed to refrigerator temperatures, typically maintained at around 40 degrees Fahrenheit. The most significant and potentially harmful change is the process known as cold-induced sweetening. When potatoes are stored in temperatures below 50 degrees Fahrenheit, enzymes within the potato accelerate the hydrolysis of starch into reducing sugars, glucose and fructose, as a defense mechanism against freezing. While this conversion makes the potato unpleasantly sweet and texturally gritty, the danger escalates when these refrigerated high-sugar potatoes are subsequently cooked at high temperatures, such as when baking, roasting, or frying. Under these conditions, the reducing sugars react with amino acids, specifically asparagine, through the Maillard reaction to form a compound called acrylamide. Acrylamide is classified by international health organizations as a probable human carcinogen. Studies have demonstrated that potatoes stored in refrigerator conditions can exhibit an increase in sugar content of up to 300% within just 2 weeks, significantly raising the potential for acrylamide formation during common cooking processes. Therefore, avoiding the cold storage of raw potatoes is a critical step in minimizing this dietary health risk. Given the risks associated with cold-induced sweetening and subsequent acrylamide formation, the correct storage environment for raw potatoes deviates significantly from typical refrigeration practice. Optimal storage requires a controlled environment that is cool, dark, and well ventilated to inhibit both the harmful sugar conversion and the production of a naturally occurring toxic compound. The ideal temperature range for raw potato storage is between 45 degrees Fahrenheit and 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Temperatures within this range are cool enough to significantly slow down sprouting and decay without activating the enzymes responsible for starch hydrolysis. Furthermore, potatoes must be stored in absolute darkness. Exposure to light, whether natural or artificial, triggers the formation of solanine, a glycoalkaloid that manifests as a green tinge beneath the skin. Solanine is toxic when consumed in high quantities and is associated with bitterness and digestive distress. Therefore, storage should utilize non-airtight containers, such as paper bags, cardboard boxes, or baskets, to ensure air circulation, and they must be placed in a pantry or cellar, away from any direct light source. Finally, it is imperative to store potatoes physically separate from onions. Both vegetables release gases that accelerate the spoilage of the other. Onions release moisture that speeds potato sprouting, and potatoes release ethylene gas that quickens onion decay. Maintaining a distance of several feet between these two staples is a simple yet effective strategy for maximizing the shelf life of both. The preceding chapters have illuminated the specific biochemical vulnerabilities of 9 common household foods when subjected to inappropriate cold storage environments, particularly the typical refrigerator temperature of around 40 degrees Fahrenheit. These findings underscore a critical principle for senior nutrition. The maximization of dietary benefits is not solely achieved through careful food selection, but equally through diligent storage practices. For an aging body where cellular repair and anti-inflammatory processes are vital, the cumulative loss of essential nutrients, such as the 90% loss of antioxidants in refrigerated avocados or the significant degradation of allicin and lycopene, represents a major missed opportunity for health support. Moving forward, the strategic adoption of non-refrigerated storage for these specific staples becomes a proactive measure in preventative health. By utilizing cool, dark pantries for potatoes and onions, ideally between 45 degrees Fahrenheit and 55 degrees Fahrenheit, allowing tropical fruits like bananas and tomatoes to ripen at stable room temperatures, e.g., 65 degrees Fahrenheit, and sealing items like coffee and honey in airtight containers away from humidity, individuals can ensure they are consuming foods with their full intended nutritional power intact. This adjustment in kitchen habits is a simple, cost-effective, and scientifically supported strategy to maintain the integrity of fats, preserve heat-sensitive vitamins, and minimize the formation of potentially harmful compounds, thereby directly supporting cognitive function, cardiovascular health, and overall vitality in the golden years. Reclaiming control over food storage is fundamentally an act of empowering and optimizing one's own health regimen.